everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And continuing with this multi-part series, multi-part episode featuring the custom Dinobots that I have in my collection. So on the left, the small Grimlock is the KBB Bao. I actually had his name wrong in the first episode. I called him Dino King. He is actually KBB Cable King. I found the manual. And as I mentioned earlier, he is he's a kit, that you put together. Right. So I had to build this guy. He does transform and everything. I forget the figure that he was based off on, but that's what he looks like, Dino mode, which we'll see later. Yeah, what you can see here, some of the changes that I made to the guy, right? So I'll go into that in just a second. But yeah, the KBB Tyrone Cable King. So if you can find him, he's a pretty fun figure. But funny thing is, again, this guy came with 2 weapons. This guy came with nothing. So I gave him his blaster. Obviously Grimlock's blaster is way bigger, but I don't know what Hasbro was thinking when they released Grimlock, the power of the Primes Grimlock, but they gave him no weapons. So so when I had this figure, I gave him the gun. The sword came from the KO that I got of the evasion mode Prime. That came with DX9 kit that made him like the God Jinrai look. So he came with that sword, so I gave that to Grimlock here. So let's start with the smaller guy. Let's put this guy aside here for a second. So with this Cable King, I'm just gonna call him Grimlock. Actually, there is a larger version, which is a Voyager size, like this guy, of this one. For like $30 or something. A little too steep. It does look a little cheaper. You can find reviews on him from I think Piao and Ben's Collectibles. Check out their channels. They're one of my favorite channels to look at. But yeah, there's a larger version of this guy. But anyway, so on this guy, kind of dusty, I didn't clean them. Right off the bat, the first thing that I wanted to do was paint the yellow into gold. So the gold that I used on this guy, this is just regular spray paint gold. The brand is a local brand here in Mexico, for those that know Comex. So their gold is a little on the darker side. It's not a bright gold. It's leaning towards like copper-ish, but it does the job. It looks cool. It's pretty good, reflective and everything. So I used that to paint the chest, the claws here in Dino mode. And then the neck in Dino mode, which we'll see later in a better shot. Right. And then from the same brand, I painted the tail and the Dino arms chrome. Although the color's kind of worn off with time, it's not sealed or anything, so maybe if add another coat, let it dry for a few weeks, I may apply a clear coat to protect the color. And then not a lot of accents done to this guy. I may go in later and paint like these parts down here on his wings, right? Because usually Grimlock has like in the cartoon he had like a red stripe going, but the you know, the action figures and everything have a lot of more mechanical detail, which we'll see later on. But you know, it's been featured in the other guys. So you, like the black trim, around the black trim. But on this guy, I only painted let's see, these metallic parts, red, blue, and green. But he does have a lot of, you know, molded detail in there to go in and touch up. So, and there goes my dog. Let me just pause it for a second. It's gone to the front of the house. So anyway, as I was saying, he does have a lot of molded detail. Oh, inside the leg, I painted in gunmetal. He has a lot of detail that, you know, I can later go in and touch up in some areas. And the sword was, I don't know why, it was molded in like a green color. Same for the gun that's on Grimlock right now. It was molded in a transparent green, so I painted that, the hilt red and the silver blade. Oh, and the biceps here, this hinge, I painted that in a gunmetal color, both sides. Now, this figure, if you'll notice, the shoulders are a little spread out. The pegs aren't pegged into his shoulders. I forget which one it is, but I actually broke one trying to transform him. And so I don't fully peg the arms on this figure. I think it's this one. The peg broke at around the ball peg, because once you you know, peg these in, it's kind of hard to pull out. So as I was trying to maneuver the peg outside, it just snapped. So if you get this figure, just be warned, right? So yeah, let me oh, and I kept the red eyes on this guy, you know, just to be so different, because all of the Dinobots, I've painted their eyes blue, but I kept them red on this guy just to be different. So let me pause the video for a second, and I'll transform him in Dino mode, and we'll be right back. So here is KBB Cable King, aka Grimlock, in his Dino mode. And again, you know, just as I was transforming him, I noticed that the Studio Series 86 Grimlock shares some similar transformation traits that this guy has, mainly on the back side of the well, I mean, a lot of Grimlocks share a lot of the transformation. You know, the drop down of the chest that forms the robot chest and everything. The tails, you know, can depend, but for the most part, they all transform the same. But this guy in particular, there are some features that really reminded me of the Studio Series 86 transformation. But yeah, here you can see, you know, Grimlock here. Again, a lot of room for paint apps later on, if I so wish to add. You know, here on the legs, there's a lot of molded detail to go in. The teeth, I never painted the teeth on this guy. You know, they're just all the color of the plastic. But here you can see, you know, that gold on the neck, the silver. Well, it's faded out, the chrome actually, but it's more like a silver right now. But it was chrome. Same for the tail. And then the little belly there. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of room for this guy to for improvements, you know, as far as paint apps go. So yeah, it's a fun little figure. Again, it wasn't too costly when I got him. I think it was, you know, around 12 bucks, something like that. So if you find them, you know, give them a shot. I'm going to pause the video. But no, I don't need to pause. I'm just gonna bring in this guy. So this is, of course, the Power of the Primes Grimlock. And oh, just a quick mention. I mentioned earlier the sword that I said that it was all from the Cable King. It was a transparent blue. It's actually a transparent brown. It's the same color as the of the chest piece here, the clear chest piece. So the sword was the same color all around. So this and that were all in the same color, or plastic, you could say. But anyway, so here we have the Power of the Primes Grimlock. And this guy has a lot of detail added to him. Took inspiration from different parts, different you know, sources, cartoon, video games, other figures, some just ideas, my ideas, but he turned out pretty good. The figure has some stickers that were applied, you know, by Hasbro on the shins and on his back, right there, and then this detail here. But other than that, this guy had pretty much nothing as far as paint other than the claws, and even those I had to repaint. The dino claws. But yeah, let me remove his weapons here, and so that we can take a closer look on this guy. So right off the bat, you can see again the blue eyes. This is a different kind of metallic. This is actually a blue that I mixed myself. It's a different blue that was used on the other guys, because I had this figure first, so I painted him first, you know, 2-3 years ago when I got him, and then I got the KOs. So I had a different paint. So you can see there's the blue here that is used on here on the other guys. It's a more navy blue, and this is a more of a baby blue, right? There we go. So yeah, a lot of paint apps on this guy. To point out his shoulder, right? So there's a different gray here that I added. You can see these red accents and the gold here in the center of the shoulder. All of that was done by me. All of these gold accents, or gold and silver accents, you know, on these gears and these pistons and whatnot. All of that was added by me. The gold on the dino claws, I repainted those. And then on his fists, that gold. and there's a gold and a silver underneath that. You can see that wraps around the fist. So underneath, down there in the fist, let's see if we can pick it up. But yeah, there's a silver underneath there. There we go. But anyway, it's there. You know, you see it here. So it wraps underneath, behind the spikes here, the gold spikes. And then on the red on his trunks, these were added. They were all black. The knees were actually red ratchets that I painted black. It's starting to fade a little bit now, but on the back you can see, you know, how the color is starting to fade. I think I used a Sharpie. And then on the legs, these plate was the same color as this plate right here. It's on the shoulder. It's the same color gray, as well as this up here. And then all of this gold and silver detail that was added on the side of his legs, on his toes. On the inside, I painted also the flat gray here. You can see where it doesn't reflect. That's paint that I added. Right, so here, a lot of detail added to this guy. Then on the back of his leg, same thing, gold accents and flat gray here, and the gold accents here on the tail. And then on the back, on the wings, not a lot, just that gold trim, those gold pistons that are going down across the wing, with some silver in some spots. So yeah, this figure is probably the one that suffered the most from the combiner gimmick. Mostly, the most disappointing aspect to me was the legs, compared to, well, let's just bring in the Studio Series 86, right? So look at how Grimlock's feet are and legs. You know, they're pretty recognizable, iconic legs. You know, big chunky legs. Meanwhile, on this guy, they gave him, you know, really skinny thighs, you know, compared to his upper body, and the proportions, you know, on the legs. You know, he has no feet; they're just molded there. So, again, quite disappointing. And you have the visible ports for the connecting, for the combiner pegs, you know, that go in there. So yeah, you could see that from half up the figure is okay, and the half down is not, you know. But again, you know, Hasbro wanted to really do the Dinobot combiners, so sacrifices had to be made. Let me pause this video and transform it into Dinobots, so we can see what else we can see on this guy. So here is Power of the Primes Grimlock in his T-Rex mode. And once again, all of that added detail you can really appreciate as well in his dino mode. You know, all of those accents that I added to his arms, you know, right there. All of that gold and silver on the tail, the tip of the tail, the different color gray that I used to separate the plastic, the gray plastic, you know, plus some more gold detail. Grimlock has these, like, I don't know what they are, but I call them thrusters, like a jetpack that was given to him. So I added the gold on these guys here, and on that detail right there. So he's got those. There we go. On his back, you can see the detail there on his side there that I added below the stickers. The teeth, I did paint the teeth silver. And that cheek, that plate on his cheek, I also painted in that, you know, flat gray color. The eyes, of course, were painted. So there's still other things I can go in and do to this figure. You know, the dino arms, I didn't paint those. The 3 plates that he has in that are you know, the green, the red, and the blue on his legs. I could paint those here on his back and down on front. That's what these stickers are supposed to be, but I think if I paint those in the color, in the metallic colors, it'll look better, and you'll see that with the oversized version what I did. But yeah, the figure, you know, if it wasn't for this, it would be an okay figure. But again, because of the and you know, look at those legs, you know, how they look because of the ports, you know. So again, the figure suffered because of the gimmick, but again, a lot of, as far as customizing the figure goes, you know, he had a lot to work with. You can see here the fists, how when they fold in, how they cover up and give an accent to the inside of the leg. So again, you know, it's an okay figure, it's an okay Grimlock, but once you compare him to the Studio Series 86 that came out this year, it's a no contest. I mean, I've seen people that prefer this version. That's totally fine. That's up to them. But personally, to me, Studio Series 86 is the superior version. So yeah, that's it for this part of the of this video. This is part 5. So we're nearing the home stretch. We've got 2 more figures to look at, and so I'm gonna end it here, and I'm gonna skip right into the next one. So I'll be seeing you later.